As you know, or maybe you don't, but I hope you do. As you know, we are in the season of Epiphany, where we are reminded of the moments that could illuminate our thinking as we awake to the signs and wonders around us. If you remember, back on the first Sunday, I gave you seeds as a symbol of the things that we must plant and the things that we must do. Last week, we reclaimed that we are not forsaken. And I gave you words of hope. This week, I want to invite you to walk together. Walk together. Tomorrow, we celebrate the birth of Martin Luther King in a national holiday. But it wasn't always so. Martin Luther King had walked many miles along the pathways to freedom. I believe that Martin Luther King understood the principle of walking together to have the epiphanies he was trying to share with the world. And you know that the God way of walking is not done. At least I believe the God way of walking is not done. Epiphanies are the hope. Epiphanies are the hope that led Martin Luther King and others as a sign into the glimpse of the fullness of faith. I think sometimes if we couldn't take all of it all at once. We get some glimpses of the fullness of faith. Now, with our calendars reset on this third Sunday of the year, I think people can see that the new beginnings of new challenges, of new strategies, and new resolutions for a changed life of circumstances. When we walk with one another, we learn their struggles.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
And they learn our struggles. No one fully knows the struggles that you've been through. Well, except you. And no one knows the full struggles that I've been through except me. But if we are willing to walk with one another and share the load, it makes the process so much easier. Many times people think if they just close themselves off from others, they won't feel the pain. I'm just going to close myself off and I won't feel the pain. But you know what? They are mistaken.
Yep.
Pain is worse when you are alone. Amen? Therein lies the problem, because when you choose to close yourself off from healing and hope that others who can walk the path with you may bring, you close yourself off to that possibility. It is hard to walk with others when you can hardly stand yourself.
Yes.
Amen. Right? But that is how we get through life, by walking side by side with one another. There are many things that empower us. None of us more than walking the path together and using the gifts that we have been given for the glory of God. Using the gifts. You see, when we use our gifts, we empower not only our life, but the lives of others around us. When we use the gifts we are given by the Spirit, we can then move beyond the flesh and rise up. I said we can rise up.
Yes.
Yes. And when we rise up, then we can strive together. We can work together. For there are many gifts of the Spirit, but one Spirit. I want to be clear. There's one Spirit. But there's many gifts that we empower. Our text today tells us, to each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for what? For the common good.
Yes.
It doesn't say we are given the gifts of the Spirit to sit on and wait. It says for the common good. Using your gift is a good thing, and yet many people just wait and wait and wait and wait. The Spirit of God, saints, the Spirit of God is already anointed.
Yes.
Amen.
You might be waiting, but you know what? The Spirit of God has already anointed you. It's time to walk together. We may want a fresh start. I don't know about you, but sometimes I want a fresh start from time to time. But saints, we have the opportunity. Well, we want the opportunity to start over, to have a second chance, if you will, to renew our lives with the sense of being unblemished. We want transformation.
Yes.
But at the same time, I hope you understand, listen, we want transformation, but I hope you understand that transformation requires change.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. Well enough.
Transformation requires change. At heart, we are not really sure about a lot of change, especially when it might mean that that we have to make some changes.
That's right.
We like the idea of renewal, but much less the concept of taking responsibility for that renewal.
There you go.
Well, the church is not very different from us as individuals. We want the church to be somehow different, better than what we've come to expect. But we want somehow for the brunt of all that change to fall upon others and not ourselves. We want somebody else to do it. Now I know I'm preaching to the choir. Not to you. We want the church to grow, but only insofar as it does not depend on us or the impact ourselves. I'm just preaching today.
Yes, you are.
Amen. Go.
We want the church to reflect the attitudes of Christ Jesus, but we don't want to have to be the ones to embody the attitudes of Christ Jesus. We want somebody else to do it. We want the church to somehow be different from ourselves as individuals. We want this to be a place where we can go and not a reflection of who we are. Ooh, 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 ooh. If only we were perfect. Then we could truly be happy in the church. Saints, the problem is,
There she goes.
we are the church.
Yes.
We are the church. And we are not perfect. Hallelujah. I'm going to get to shouting here in a minute. You see, the church ought to be unified. It ought to be harmonious. It ought to be peaceful. It ought to be vibrant. It ought to be growing. It ought to be dedicated. It ought to be generous. It ought to be kind, loving, and full of grace and mercy.
Amen.
Yes.
Wow.
Yet, that's like the butt. Yet, we
Are the church.
somehow want the church to be that way without our lives being that way.
Yes.
Oops. Accountability.
We want peace and unity. But we want somebody else to bear it. We want harmony and peace, but we want somebody else to be the peace bringer.
Yep.
We want the burden of harmony and grace, but we don't want to bear the burden of it. I would would suggest that some of us want to be spectators watching and enjoying the rest of the people do the hard work together. Oh, if you're a spectator, oh, I'm sorry. This reminds me of a TV show. You know, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on TV shows that has a villain who victimizes someone to manipulate another.
Yes.
Right? They lay blame and the hurt on whoever they can. They make a stage laying blame for the victim's plight at the hands of someone that they wish to manipulate. The person responsible for the threatened violence is not the one being manipulated. The responsible party is the one carrying out the acts of violence. We can pretend as much as we want, listen, that someone else bears the responsibility. But each of us is responsible for our own actions and not the actions of another.
Yes.
The same applies to the life of the church, though. What happens with the church is the result of what happens, of what we do as participants and members of the church. As our lives grow or don't grow, so too is the church.
Right.
And you see, I'm responsible to teach you and to preach to you and to encourage you. And I hope I do that.
You do.
But you see, it's not, that responsibility is mine. Your responsibility is to pick it up, to learn it, to live it. And not just on Sunday in these four walls, but every day.
Yes.
To be responsible. And sometimes I wonder if we forget when we walk out the door and the door closes behind us, another good service. And then we wait until the next Sunday or Wednesday if we come. You see, it takes more than that.
Yes.
It takes just more than another good service
Yes.
for God. What happens with the church is the result of what we do as participants and members of the church. Okay, here we go. The church is united when we choose to be united.
Yes.
Will you walk with me?
Yes.
The church is at peace when we choose the paths of peace. Will you walk with me?
Yes.
The church is vibrant when we bring the vitality, our life, to it. Will you walk with me?
Yes.
The church is focused on the things of God. When you are focused on the things of God, will you walk with me?
Yes.
The church is loving and grateful and thankful and forgiving and merciful. When we ourselves are that way, will you walk with me?
Yes.
We are one when we act and live as one.
Yes.
When our actions are more than just going through the motions.
Yes.
In order to become one, we cannot wait for someone else to make it happen.
Right.
We must take the first steps.
Right.
We must individually take the first steps
That's right.
Yes.
to walk with one another.
Correct. Yes.
I expect renewal.
Yes.
I expect revival.
Yes.
I expect the power of God to flow through us in
Yes.
such a way that we will be changed
Yes.
because we are taking the next step.
Yes.
Power of God has potential, amen?
Oh, amen.
It has the potential to flow when we choose to walk together.
Yes.
Will you walk with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Woo!